This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 92nd time ever, we are live from the Reviewing Network studios on this beautiful first day of the month of June. Welcome to the Reviewing Network Live, everybody. Another episode of the show. And, yeah, it was not one of those interesting weeks at all. There was not a whole lot of big news stories here, but we do have enough to at least get maybe about an hour's worth of material out of this one. Actually, it's been getting busy over the last couple of hours, because literally just in the last 30 minutes as I'm recording this, around 8:30, they dropped the trailer for The Black Phone 2, the sequel, of course, to the 2002 movie directed by Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill, and I just did a trailer reaction to that over on this channel, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But it looks pretty good. It actually looks really interesting. I like the fact that that's the way they're bringing him back for the sequel. It's just basically making Ethan Hawke Freddy Krueger in a way. I like the little bit of the vibes of what he's had, a little bit of the vibes of Nightmare on Elm Street. But I also love the fact that the film also takes place in the snow. Like I think that's a really fun idea to have a thriller in the snow, whether it's just a straight up thriller or a horror thriller. I think it can lead to a lot of really cool stuff. I got flashes of this movie back in the 1980s called Ghost Story, which is a film that had Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, and Craig Wasson. Came out in 1981. Also had Alice Kree from Star Trek First Contact, and it's a really cool, chilling, intense thriller, man. Like, it's a horror movie. It's a really good movie. You can find it on Shout Factory on Blu-ray. On Blu-ray somewhere. If it's not there, surely check online. It's got to be somewhere out there, but yeah, it's one that I do recommend checking out, and especially after seeing that Black Phone 2 trailer. Who knows? I think we might actually also be getting a Five Nights at Freddy's 2 trailer maybe tonight too. If that happens, before I'm done with this, I'll do a live trailer reaction to it here. But yeah, as far as I know, I guess Blumhouse, what they're doing is, I'm trying to see what's. Oh, they're in Mexico City for the CCXP Festival, so that's why there's like a ton of Blumhouse news dropping from Blumhouse Games, and then they're talking about their first Spanish-language original film, No Me Sigas, and then they drop a poster for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which probably means they're going to drop a trailer tonight. And like I said, if that happens, I will go ahead and do a trailer reaction live here, but until then, let's go ahead and do what we usually do here, because this should not be a long show per se this week, but I have a couple things I want to delve into here. But let's start off as we usually do with the weekend box office, the top 5. And not quite as intriguing as it was last weekend, but there are a couple two new releases in the top 5 to take a look at here. So let's start off with the one that kind of came out of nowhere if you haven't been following up on this movie in general. But it's the follow-up to the guys, Danny and Michael Filippo. Yeah, Danny and Michael Filippo. They did the movie Bring Her Back, which came out this weekend. Their follow-up to Talk to Me did pretty well overall. Brought in $7 million this weekend with a budget of $15 million for a film that did not have a huge marketing push overall. A24, I get the sense that they don't really need a big marketing push. People will just know when their movies are coming out, and this was a film this is their big follow-up to Talk to Me, and this was a movie where it's been getting a lot of great reviews, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, 75 on Metacritic. It's doing pretty well. The film overall, the plot of it is that you have two step-siblings who are placed in the middle of an occult ritual to bring their foster mother's daughter back to life, the mother being played by Sally Hawkins. I guess this was the reason why she wasn't in Paddington in Peru, but maybe that was a good thing she wasn't in there, especially after seeing the stuff from this movie. But I've actually not heard too much about this movie, but all I know is that the poster looks pretty badass. It's this woman, it looks like this kid who, he's got like these creepy looking eyes. It looks like something out of The Lair of the White Worm, like the visuals in that movie. Although I don't think this movie is on that same pathway, but I've heard a lot of good things about Talk to Me. I've never heard anything. I've never gotten a chance to watch it, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him at some point. Maybe I'll do it this Halloween along with this one here. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and this should do pretty good business overall. So anyway, that's Bring Her Back. So let's go ahead and move on to the number 4 movie this week, and that is Final Destination Bloodlines, which is brought in $10.8 million, finally crossing over the $100 million mark, $111.7 million after 3 weeks. If you take in the worldwide numbers, it's up to $229 million. Still kind of surprised they haven't announced the sequel yet. I mean, this thing already made back its budget and then some. I mean, $50 million this thing cost, and it's already more than made that money back in due time, so I'm kind of really I am really shocked that they haven't done a sequel announcement. Or maybe they're not going to. Or maybe they're just waiting it out or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's weird. Like, because a movie like this, you would usually think that as soon as it would make its budget back on opening weekend, we were going to hear something about a sequel. But maybe they're taking their time with it this time around. Maybe they're going to do it the right way instead of just making it for the sake of making it because the film was a success. But with that said, on to number 3, the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is, of course, Karate Kid Legends, which it's very interesting what this movie is doing. It's brought in $21 million this weekend. The budget on this movie is $45 million, which is not that bad of a budget for this at all. And it actually has already made back that budget if you include in worldwide numbers, up to $47 million. So it has made its money back already. But they were clearly expecting a lot more from it. They were expecting a bigger... You could tell that they were Sony was kind of expecting a lot more than just that. But, it didn't do the best business with critics overall. 59% on Rotten Tomatoes. 51 out of 100. Although the audience score on there is 90%, which is actually the highest total in the film's history. In the franchise's history. And if you go on to Cinema Score, it's an A-, which is usually a very good sign that this thing will have some legs going forward in the weeks to come. So, I don't know, maybe it's doing a lot better than I think a lot of people are letting on. I saw it yesterday. I just thought it was okay. I mean, I didn't think it was the worst, but I didn't think it was that great either. But it was cool to see Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio coming together and bringing these two worlds together and essentially starting the launch of a new Karate Kid series in general. I got the feeling when they were making this movie, they were trying so hard to copy what they did with Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I talked about it in the review. I think Ghostbusters did a whole lot better than this film did. I think the big problem with this one is that it's been there, done that before. We've seen this story kind of done over and over and over again. It just, it would be nice to add something new to the table here, like do something new with it, like what they did with Karate Kid Part 2, where they took the story out of the dojo. Let's take it out of the dojo and take it to another country. Let's go down that pathway. But I mean, I really hope that that's what they're going to do at this point going forward. I really do feel like this was only made solely because of the success that Cobra Kai had as far as a series that, really kind of came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, by the start of the decade, it was becoming that must-see, that show that everybody couldn't get enough of. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad movie overall. It's definitely one of the lesser films in the series, but not as bad as something like, 3 or the next Karate Kid. Those movies I don't think work as well, but that's my personal take on that one. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to number 2 this weekend. Number 2 last week, of course, and that is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which brought in $27.3 million this weekend, dropping 57% from last weekend, and bringing its 2-week total now to $122.6 million. If you count the worldwide numbers, it's up to $353 million. Once again, this movie has a $400 million budget, so it's going to be very, very hard for this film to become profitable. And I'm just kind of curious of what of how the first movie, the previous film, Dead Reckoning Part 1, or I guess Dead Reckoning now. And here's the good news, though. It is doing better than Dead Reckoning Part 1 did. Dead Reckoning Part 1, after its second weekend, brought in $118 million before it ended up making around $172 million domestically and $571 million worldwide. But then again, the next weekend, Barbie and Oppenheimer opened up. And this weekend, the big new release was Karate Kid Legends and Bring Her Back. So I think the big competition for it coming up this week is going to be the John Wick spin-off, Ballerina, which I'll be very curious to see how that one does. I'll talk more about that in just a second. But number 1 movie this weekend, not really much of a surprise, and that is Lilo and Stitch. No big family films coming out. Karate Kid could have taken some of the flack, some of the audience away from that, but still did well enough to hold on to the number one spot. $63 million this weekend, 56.9% drop off, bringing its 2-week total now to $280 million domestically and $610 million worldwide. And it's on its way to becoming not only the first billion-dollar blockbuster worldwide this year, but it already surpassed Sinners as the second highest grossing movie of the year. Sinners dropped out of the top 5 just barely at number 6 with $5.2 million, $267 million after 7 weeks. And now all eyes are on a Minecraft movie, which has completely fallen out of the top 10 finally, but not before leaving a $422.9 million gross domestically. And I think this movie's I think Lilo and Stitch will get there soon enough. I mean, I think this is a movie that will have some legs, at least for the next couple of weeks, and then all eyes will be on How to Train Your Dragon, how that film is going to do, which they're already starting to push on that with Burger King commercials playing on TV, which is really weird because, a few months ago, the marketing overall, like for the commercials and all that, they were really starting to get going with the Super Bowl boost, and then we didn't really see a whole lot until they started doing it with the NBA, showing commercials during the NHL and the NBA Finals, which, by the way, both of those start this week, so congratulations to the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers for making it to the Stanley Cup Finals again. Should be a very interesting rematch there. Hopefully Edmonton can do something this time around. And then the NBA Finals, Indiana and Oklahoma City, two teams who have never won the championship. Or is that the case? Or did Oklahoma City has never won it, but did they ever win it when they were in Seattle as the Supersonics? I'm curious now, because I think they did. They did, 1979, and I think Indiana has never won the trophy either. If I'm correct, I think the last time they were in there, it was like 25 years ago. They have 3 ABA championships, but they've never won an NBA championship. But should be a really good matchup overall to see two teams who have very rarely made it to this point. And, it's not a team that has won it over and over again. It's not like the NFL where you keep seeing Kansas City and Philadelphia in there every year. No, it's actually two different teams this time around, and it'd be really cool to see what happens there. But Lilo and Stitch doing gangbuster business overall. I would not be surprised if it ends up being the number one movie of the summer up until Superman comes up, which, the budget, which that movie is expected to make right now. The early projections came out for that. They were thinking $150 to $175 million domestically. And if that's the case, man, that's really, really good. And hopefully it is going to turn out to be good. And I think James Gunn said he's about a couple weeks away from delivering the final cut of the movie. So be very curious to see what the early word of mouth of that's going to be. So yeah, overall, that's the weekend box office. We're going to talk more about Lilo and Stitch in just a little bit, because there's something I want to bring up about that really kind of has irked me. But yeah, next weekend overall is not looking too promising. The big new releases, as I said, from the world of John Wick Ballerina, which I'm very curious to see how the word of mouth on that movie is going to be, because, Lionsgate had that thing last week we talked about where they basically sent a thing out to critics saying, don't put out any negative reviews until this specific day, which is almost never a good sign whatsoever. And then, of course, the marketing overall, I think, is really putting too much emphasis on the fact that, you've got Keanu Reeves as John Wick all over the place, and it's just kind of like, supposedly he has a cameo in this movie, and they're just making it seem like he's the main focus of it, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, or maybe I'm just overthinking it per se, but we all find out this week. We find out whether or not the movie actually does actually go down that route, or if it's something completely different. But with all that said, the other movie coming out this weekend, The Phoenician Scheme, Wes Anderson's latest film, which opened in limited release this weekend and did okay business, $570,000 in 6 theaters, which that's actually not that bad for that, an average of just $90,000 per screen. Let me see what the budget on this one is. It's a Wes Anderson movie, so obviously I'm looking forward to it. $1.9 million worldwide. There is no budget to it, and the reviews have been pretty good overall. I mean, I've liked a lot of Wes Anderson movies, and I don't think this one's going to be any different, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out at some point, but probably won't be next weekend. I think my focus next week will be solely on John Wick Ballerina. But with all that said, though, that's the weekend box office as a whole. Now, I want to go ahead and get to the one story I want to cover about Lilo and Stitch, because, once again, it just feels like we can't have any fun in this goddamn world anymore. So, of course, Lilo and Stitch is the highest-grossing movie of the weekend once again. Over $280 million. It's a big box office hit, and the critics most people generally seem to like it. Critics, audiences, it's a big hit overall. I mean, it's something Disney really needed for a movie that cost $100 million to make, and was supposed to go straight to Disney Plus. They need it, man. They really do need it, especially with the rumors of Elio coming out next month, and supposedly it costs $300 million to make, which I really don't want to buy into that. I really don't want to buy into that because I want that movie to do very well, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it, but everyone has their problems with the ending of Lilo and Stitch. They don't like the fact that Jumba's the villain and there's no Captain Gantu, and the whole thing is it's your typical nitpicky type of things. Which some of it I actually do agree with you people out there on. The people who are bad mouthing bashing the film overall. I mean, the film overall was fun. I did a video this week ranking the Disney live action remakes, and I put it very high up there. I had it at number 6 behind Christopher Robin, and just before what was the one I had before? I think Cruella. But yeah, it's definitely up there with one of their better live action remakes. That doesn't mean I want them to do more of these. I want them to kind of stop doing them, and I don't have any real excitement for Moana in general. But everyone's talking about the ending of the movie, and people have gone online to talk about how how dare this movie completely ruin the whole idea of the movie. Like, Ohana means family, except let's let the social worker take your kid. Which, if you saw the movie, that is not what happens in that movie. I mean, here's the thing. I'm gonna spoil. Not really spoil, because really there's nothing really to spoil about the movie in general. But for a little recapper of what happens at the end of the movie. It's after, they save Stitch, the Grand Councilwoman basically rearrests Jumba and basically decides to let Stitch stay on Earth with his family. And so they return back to the home, and, they have this whole thing where, Lilo's about to lose Nani. Nani's about to give Lilo up, and there's this whole thing at the end where they really don't know what to do in the situation, and the social worker tells Nani that she can give Lilo's guardianship to her neighbors, David and Tootie, who's the I think she's the mother of David in this case. I don't know for certain, but she's basically she's the grandmother. Okay, I'm seeing it here on Wikipedia, but she's the grandmother of David, and the whole thing is that it'll allow her to stay at home, and it'll allow Nani to go to because they set it up early in the movie that she should go Amy Hill's character wanted her to study marine biology, and so she goes out to the University of California, and the film literally ends with Nani in California talking to Lilo and Stitch on a computer screen, and then they use Jumba's porter gun from earlier to go visit them back on the island, and the film literally ends with the three of them together. I mean, it's not like the movie literally is saying that she basically gave him up and she can never see him again. It's just like, that doesn't happen in the movie. And if you saw the movie, you know exactly that's the case of what happens in the film. But not for people who keep bitching and moaning about it, like they pretend like it never happened. It's just like, oh, how dare she gave her up? It's just like, she didn't give her up. Like, she did not give her up at all. And she's not going anywhere. They can still meet each other, and it's just like, it doesn't make any sense at all why people are getting so pissy about it. But unfortunately, now it has become mainstream, because guess who ended up writing a story about it? The Hollywood Reporter. I mean, this isn't as bad as Variety basically is putting out a massive hit piece on Rachel Zegler, for blaming her entirely for the failure of Snow White. Meanwhile, Gal Gadot's completely gotten off scot-free. But this is still pretty ridiculous. I've got the article right here. Lilo and Stitch live-action remake ignites debates over harmful changes to original story. First of all, it's not harmful story, but I'll get to that in just a little bit. But Disney's live-action version of Lilo and Stitch made quite the splash when it debuted to the biggest Memorial Day opening weekend ever, but the film remake of the 2002 animated original about a Hawaiian girl and her frisky alien friend also spurred extensive debate surrounding changes to the narrative, particularly its ending. One recent viral post on X noted that the scene in the first movie in which Lilo and older sister Nani bond over the Hawaiian concept of ohana is changed in the new one. It's not really. It really is not, but this led another user to post that it is not crazy to say this movie is pro-colonized Hawaiian propaganda. The follow-up comment, which has received more than 200,000 likes, spurred debate over the new version's ending, in which Nani moved to California for college and agrees to give up Lilo to the state, with the girl raised by a neighbor. In the original film, Nani remains Lilo's legal guardian. That's not what happens in the movie. I mean, technically, yeah, she did give her away, but it's not like they're not going to see each other anymore. It's just like, why are we even wasting our time with this article? I mean, this is ridiculous. And it's just like, again, the movie literally ends with the three of them together at the end. It's like people walked out of the movie as soon as that happened and didn't even bother looking at the screen because it's just like, no, we want to be right on this. That's exactly what happened. And it's just like, just get... Like, I say this to everybody with the Star Wars movies. Like, I've always said that Star Wars fans have no idea what they want anymore. Disney fans have no idea what they want anymore because they changed the ending. Isn't that what the point of these live action remakes? Wasn't that what everyone was bitching about before? Just like, make changes to this. Don't just make the same movie over and over again. Okay, we're gonna change the movie. How dare you change the movie? It's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, seriously, when this whole debate got started, I felt like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia whenever I heard anybody talking about all the massive changes that they made to the movie. It's just like, oh my god, they changed this, oh my god, they changed that. This and blah, 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 blah.
Shut up! Oh my god, I don't care!
Exactly. I don't care. Like, who the hell cares? But then again, this is the Twitter. This is the place where negativity is abound in this world. Even though you try your best to be positive and never be negative when you don't need to, but it makes no sense whatsoever. And it's just so ridiculous that we're even having this conversation as a whole. And you know, the whole thing about this movie is that the problem with this whole thing is that it's not because people aren't getting mad at this because they hate the way it is. They're trying to build this. Trying to put this agenda behind it. It's just like, it's a different ending. Like, the director himself even went on to say about this. Dean Fleischer Camp. There was a whole thing about this, and the director actually reposted some social media praise on it. I'm reading from the article here from a fan who calls the remake's ending more realistic and talked about her own experiences as a teen mom. Fleischer Camp added, "It seems like people who actually lived experiences." Am I reading this wrong? Let me see. No, that's how it is in the Twitter thing, too. It seems like the people with actual lived experiences like this are the ones with whom the ending resonates the most. Now, I'm not obviously, I've never had a kid before, so I don't know anything about the situation here, but even someone like me, who has been through this type of a situation, even someone like me who has never been through this situation, I just literally almost contradicted myself, but I can relate to what, I can really see why this ending made sense. I can see why it was necessary to make that change. I think it works overall. I think it actually does play into the whole idea of the film, because like I said before in my review, I like the fact that the social worker is the same person who plays Nani, and she's not just Cobra Bubbles all over again. She's somebody who is really trying her best to do what's best for Lilo, and knows that Nani loves her, but this is the way that things have got to be. And like, I like the way that camaraderie works in this movie, and that's one of the things I really liked about the film. But the whole thing about this is that, just think about this. Nobody said a word when a Minecraft movie did the chicken jockey thing, and it completely was just like, it was completely complete madness. Everyone who saw that was just like, instead of getting upset, people were just like, oh, let them have fun, let kids be kids. No, that's not fun. That's not fun. Sitting in a movie theater while you're trying to watch a movie and then having people losing their minds and bringing live chickens into a fucking movie theater is not fun. I swear, if a Minecraft movie was released by Disney, we would have had the exact same. If nobody would be praising the shit out of that movie like they did, is like they're not doing with this movie, which they're not really doing it with a Minecraft movie. But the people who really are for a Minecraft movie really are people that just don't get why that movie is so terrible. That's a terrible movie. But this Lilo and Stitch was actually trying to do something. It was actually trying, and it did succeed in my opinion. But it's just. But they say here in the article that this was something where, actually no, I thought there was something that was building up here, but the whole thing about this whole thing, this really is not something that we need to bitch and moan about. It's just like, you don't like the movie, that's fine. You don't have to like the movie. You have your own opinions. It's just like with politics. It's just like, I don't care who you vote for. I don't care. I really don't care who you vote for. Just don't be an asshole about it and keep pushing it on me like you're trying to bully people into getting them to agree with what you agree upon. That's what it feels like with this. It's just like, it feels like the people who are trying to make you hate this movie for no other reason except the fact that, oh, it's a live action remake of a film that does not need a live action remake. Okay, so what? It's like I said in my video on Monday with breaking the live action remakes. These are just cover songs. All these Disney live-action remakes are cover songs. They're songs that are out there for the new generation. They're never going to take away the original movies, no matter how mad you think you can get about it. But this is for most of these movies are not made for people like me. They're made for a new generation of kids who didn't grow up with the original movies like we did. And again, they're never going to take the movies away from you. I guarantee you, when Lilo and Stitch comes out on Blu-ray and DVD, there's going to be a 2-movie collection with Lilo and Stitch, the original, and the remake, so people can watch those movies and be like, oh, there's both movies right there. It's just like, just stop being an asshole about it. Just seriously, just stop being a dick about it, for God's sake. You don't like the movie? That's fine. There's things about the movie that I don't like about it. But you know what? I went into it with an open mindset, and I had a good time with it. Like, you should not be afraid. You should not be afraid to go see something or like something because people are going to give you a hard time because of it. Like, I saw something today on Twitter. I saw this tweet right here, and let me see if I can get it. It's from this woman, Sania Obaid, who is described as a professional artist and graphics designer, and it says, "My son put his heart and soul into the school project. A little word of encouragement would mean a lot to him." And it's this thing where I guess this kid made like a fox statue, I guess out of a wood, and it looks like he's crying about something, and it's just kind of like, well, what's he crying about? This thing looks incredible, because if you see right here, it looks incredible. And I saw this because there were some people who had put their words of encouragement, like Richard Roper retweeted this, and I'm trying to think of who else did this. Michael Chiklis is somebody else who's looked at this, but yeah, it looks really nice. It actually does look pretty good overall. I don't know if this is a real photo or not, but at the same time, I mean, it still looks pretty cool. I mean, if it's AI, it's pretty good. It's actually not that bad looking of an AI, and this is somebody who hates AI, but either way, it's a thing. You get the feeling that the person who made this probably wants to give a little bit of positivity in the world, and we need a lot of positivity in this world. It's just like, I looked at that and it's just kind of like, we just need more positivity in this world. We just need to stop treating everything like it's like every single movie or TV show, like it's going to be the end of the world if they don't do it the way you want it to do. And it's just like I just really am sick and tired of this argument, man. I'm not going to bring this up after this point, but you should see Lilo and Stitch, make your own opinion. I think you're going to enjoy the hell out of it, because I really did enjoy the hell out of it. Even if you love the original, And this will never top the original. I've got to say that again. This will never, ever, ever top the original movie. And I think that this is a film that really is one of the best Disney live-action remakes they've done as of late. That does not mean I want them to make more of them. I think they should stop right here, end it on a high note, and then focus on doing more original stuff in general. And just get over the fact that they changed the ending around. Okay, so you want to buy into the whole idea that the social worker won in the end, but the movie literally ends with the three of them together at the end of the movie, and it's just like, just get over yourself, people. Like, it's just, please. Let me quote Animaniacs for you. Please, please, please get a life. And now I can just hear the internet right now.
I don't want change! I don't want change! Everything has to stay the same!
Yeah. So, hopefully you got something out of this whole thing, but that's just my thoughts on that whole thing. So let's go ahead and move on to one of the two news stories I want to cover here, and this is easily the biggest one of the two. That's the sound, of course, of the intro to King of the Hill, which was in the news big time the last couple of days, because the new King of the Hill the new season of King of the Hill is coming out on Hulu on August 4th, and Hulu revealed the first credit sequence of the show, and it's certainly very interesting because this is a show that, of course, is taking place now almost 20 years after the end of the original show, and it shows everybody has grown up now. And it's really one of those ones where you really got to look at the intro in general, because it's not just the typical intro from the regular show where, you know, it's the same one they've been doing for the last 13 years, except with a much higher definition glow. But you watch this, and you need to really pause in and deeply look into the things that are noticeable about this whole thing, because I'm going to do that right here with this, and then I'm going to delve into the details on the revival, because we got the news about it today. Not today, on Thursday and Friday, when they started showing some stuff from the show. But like, you see stuff like, you see stuff like it's like Bobby's using an iPhone to record something, and with Joseph, and Connie's got a thing for global warming, like a project for global warming, and you see the gang out in front of the alley as they usually are. But then as you keep going, as time has gone on, you see, like, it shows a couple years down the road, and we see Dee Dee once again, and we actually get to see Hank's uncle, GH, actually now grown up, along with Bobby, who's now, you see GH as a little kid now, and you see Bobby a little bit grown up, and time keeps going on. You really got to pay attention to this, because, like, you see John Redcorn coming out to see Nancy once again, so I guess that relationship's back on. And then you see that Hank is now out of the picture for a good chunk of this, and you see they add new garage doors, and it looks like that, one of the big things you see in there is that you see Bobby going away and saying goodbye to Connie and Joseph, and then following that, we see a moving truck outside of the Hill house. So the Hills basically move, as we later find out where they're going. We'll later find out where they're going because it's in the synopsis. But you can look real closely, and you see Bill is like devastated by this whole thing, and then you see another character, which was later revealed to be the gay guy from the gun club, and I guess he moved into the house, or this was basically a plan by Dale, for the fact that when Hank and Peggy eventually returned, somehow he found a way to get this guy from the gun club to live in his house until then, or maybe he just moved into it. Who knows? Although one shot here I'm looking at here literally looks like Bill has no face. I mean, take a look at this. Like, I did not notice that until now. Like, Bill's Slender Man, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God! But anyway, back to the video here. But then they show COVID, and then you see Bill's the first one to get it, obviously. It shows everybody 6 feet apart, and then you see Boomhauer, who actually is now in a relationship with either he got married, or he married and had a kid, or he married a single mother who had a kid, because we see that Boomhauer is out of the picture for a little bit too. And then you see Dale's the only one that's there. Of course, everyone's wearing COVID masks except for Dale, who's wearing it as a chin diaper, pretty much. Like, he's not putting it over his mouth and nose and anything, which makes sense for him, but it works. But then there's a whole thing where Dale decides, I'm going to go run for mayor. And, like, he's got a grown-up Joseph giving him signs and all that. And then you see you see the power company removing one of the power lines, and so they keep going, and then they reveal that Hank and Peggy actually do come back, and it leads into the classic end way the intro ends, with Hank throwing the sign away in the trash, and then Hank, Bobby, and Peggy getting together for a shot together, and it's now Bobby all grown up now, and you can definitely tell Hank and Peggy have definitely aged over time. And again, I'm not really doing a whole lot just talking about it here. You really got to look for the credit sequence yourself. It's definitely out there on Hulu, and there was also some footage out there from the trailer they showed at the ATX Festival, which, as far as I know, it looks like they did take it down, which is expected to happen. I mean, that was something where that was not really much of a shocker overall that they were going to take it down, because it was something that they're probably waiting a month before the show premieres to put the new trailer out there. But in this clip, we saw like our first glimpses of all the characters now all grown up. We see all the characters, what they're doing now, and like Bobby has basically become a chef. And he meets up again with Connie and Joseph and Chang, and like we see all the other characters again. And I saw a little bit of it. It is something that actually is really fun to see. Like, it's great to see all these characters now all grown up, and we got the details on what the show is going to be like now that everybody's back. And the log line, as I've got it right here, it says, "Here's the log line for the new season. After years working a propane job in Saudi Arabia to earn their retirement nest egg, Hank and Peggy Hill return to a changed Arlen, Texas to reconnect with old friends Dale, Boomhauer, and Bill." So the first thing you notice is that Hank is no longer working at Strickland Propane, or else Strickland Propane got sold by some Saudi Arabia company and, some outsourcing thing, which I think it's really interesting that Hank and Peggy end up in Saudi Arabia, which could lead to a lot of really good, funny scenarios with Peggy, trying to master the Saudi Arabian language like she did with Mexico language, the Mexican language overall, which could lead to some funny things in there overall. And it's good to see that Bill actually did survive, because the clip they showed at the ATX Festival, which is not online anymore, does show that Bill did survive COVID. So there you go. Meanwhile, Bobby is living his dream as a chef in Dallas and is enjoying his 20s with his former classmates Connie, Joseph, and Chang. Chang Wasana-san, of course, and it's interesting that Chang is now basically a friend now to Bobby and the gang, instead of being the bully that he was in the TV show, in the original show. But then again, it's an age thing. Times change. You grow up as kids. So yeah, this is something that looks really, really interesting. And we found out that one of the big things was about who's going to replace Johnny Hardwick as Dale. Johnny Hardwick passed away last year. He did record 6 episodes of King of the Hill as Dale Gribble, and so we found out that it's going to be Toby Huss now as the voice of Dale Gribble. And of course, Toby Huss is the guy that was Cotton on the show, and also was Con as well, which we haven't seen him in the trailer yet, which I think he's going to be in there at some point, but it'd be very interesting to see if it's in there. I actually got a little bit of the clip right here. I'm going to play a little bit of it from the trailer they showed at ATX, not the whole thing, but I want to see if you can tell a difference between the Dale that they have in here and the Dale's regular voice.
Oh wow, Dale, how long have you been in that trash can?
You want me to kill Bobby?
No.
Bobby back, loser!
Now, from the little bit there, it still does sound like Johnny Hardwick, because like I said, this looks like maybe something from the early episodes of the show. It's only a 10-episode first season, so maybe we won't notice it until very late into the season. In fact, what we're looking at here may not actually just be stuff from the first couple of episodes, or maybe the first episode. So we probably won't hear anything about it, any different voice changes compared to what Johnny Hardwick did until later on. But here's another clip here.
She can hear you, sir.
And what's Peggy doing in the alley?
I'm tired. I have got nowhere to go.
Who says Peggy should stay inside with the shades on?
Yeah, so you hear a little bit there, and it sounds a little different, but nothing too incredibly different overall thus far. But either way, I'm still looking forward to this new show. It's great to see the old gang back together again. And King of the Hill really is a show that has grown on me in the years. I've always loved it as a kid, and watching it nowadays, it's a show that definitely does hold up. And it's good, and it's lucky because FXX plays it all the time now. Like, it plays it now in the afternoons and in late evenings, like you're watching TV on you're watching shows after midnight, and after Futurama's done, they start playing episodes of King of the Hill on there, and it's just like, this show does hold up. It actually has grown. It actually has gone further up and up in my favorite TV shows of all time. Which, spoiler alert, that's going to be the main focus of the next Reviewing Network Talks About season opener, when I do my top 30 weekly top 30 list for the next 30 weeks, starting in September. I'm going to take a look at my top 30 favorite TV shows, and the list has definitely improved in the almost 10 years since the last time I did that list back in 2015. But yeah, overall, I'm looking forward to the show. I can't wait to see more of it. We should be getting hopefully a new trailer coming up in the next month or so, as they're getting closer. Because I'm getting the sense now that Hulu usually waits a month before a new series premieres or a new show premieres before they launch a trailer for it. But regardless, it looks pretty damn good. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out. So one more thing I want to cover, and then we can get on out of here, and we'll do that now. One more thing before we move on to this last story about King of the Hill. Of course, obviously, in the 16 years since the show came to an end, Luann and Buckley, Luann and who did Tom Petty play in the show? Why can't I remember his name? Lucky, that's who it is. Brittany Murphy and Tom Petty. They passed away since then. It's interesting that they haven't brought anything up from any. I'm really curious to see how they're going to bring them into the show, since they haven't been there in a while. And well, are we ever going to see Luann's daughter again? I mean, that's something that's. Are we going to see her grown up and all that? But I don't know. That's just something that really I didn't realize I forgot to mention before I cut it off there. I knew I forgot something, but I'll be very curious to see how they handle that in general. But the last thing I want to cover here is the fact that we lost a great composer this weekend. Alf Clausen died this week at the age of 84 years old. And of course, he's more well known for his work scoring many episodes of The Simpsons. He was with the show for 27 years, and then there was kind of a falling out with him and the show, and they basically got rid of him, and they basically replaced him with Bleeding Fingers Music, which is a company run by Hans Zimmer's company. And he actually sued Fox for basically firing him due to ageism and disability discrimination, though the producers claimed that Clausen was fired for an inability to work with more modern music styles. And so they basically dropped the lawsuit altogether in January of 2022. But he had been dealing with Parkinson's disease for the last couple of years, and he had been dealing with it actually for a decade, like for the last 10 years, and he passed away this weekend because of that. Alf Clausen was a great composer, man. I mean, of course, his work on The Simpsons can't be understated. It was such a great... His music overall was great, but he did a lot of orchestrations for a lot of different television shows. This goes all the way back... His work goes all the way back to the 1960s. I mean, this is a guy that did music for the Partridge Family, Donnie and Marie. He was behind one of the great theme songs of all time in the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He was the main composer on Moonlighting, the fantastic show, of course, with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd, which, if you have not seen that show, you need to see that show out, man, because it was a show that was definitely ahead of its time. You can watch it on Hulu, though. I believe it's still available on there. But then, of course, he was also a composer on Alf. He actually did a lot of movies as well. Like in addition to like other TV shows, like he did the series Fame, which came out in the 80s, based off the movie. And then he did movies like The Beastmaster, Airplane 2, the sequel, Splash, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Dragnet, The Naked Gun. Great movies. And then, of course, he did The Simpsons, where, you know, his whole thing on The Simpsons was that they basically asked him to compose the music like it was a drama, like it wasn't just a simple cartoon. And it really was what made that show stand out in terms of its music. The music overall really did a good job of, like, you know, it was building up the, you know, the overall emotion of the characters. That's what Matt Groening said about Clausen. And the show itself worked really well, and it was something that he did for a long period of time. And, you know, he did a lot of these great musical compositions here. Of course, when he did one of the ones that really sticks out to me was the Cape Fear episode, where, of course, there's the bit in the end where Sideshow Bob is basically forced by Bart to do. Well, Bart basically tells him, you know, Sideshow Bob basically says, "Any last requests?" And Bart's just like, "Yeah, can you do the song for the HMS Pitaford, like the what was it? The conclusion of the HM, the whole. No, he wanted to do the whole the whole score for the HMS Pinafore, and Sideshow Bob's just like, very well, Bart. I will lull you to sleep before I will sing you. I will lull you to heaven before I send you to hell. Pretty much something like that. And of course, it's Kelsey Grammer doing the entire score for the HMS Pinafore, which is great stuff in the little bits we see. And I still think there's a longer version out there of Kelsey Grammer just doing the entire HMS Pinafore somewhere. Like, there's gotta be, has to be. And it's just one of the great many musical compositions he did for that show. Just a ton of great stuff overall. But a lot of his stuff, there's stuff that gets kind of overlooked overall. The biggest one for me is a show made by the same people who made The Simpsons, and that is, of course, The Critic. Where, The Critic had a lot of great musical compositions in there. Like, the intro alone is great. Not playing the whole thing for copyright reasons, but there's a lot of great musical compositions there. And it definitely felt like a much different feel than The Simpsons in terms of the music. Like, the music in The Critic feels more like a Woody Allen movie, like a Woody Allen comedy, a Woody Allen drama. Like, it feels Allen-esque overall. And there's just so many great compositions in that show that really don't get the attention that they deserve. One of the ones that sticks out to me the most is when, Siskel and Ebert, the Siskel and Ebert episode is one of the best episodes, and, they do a great job of creating this music for, they have this great song in the middle where Siskel and Ebert are singing about the fact that they can't they are nothing without each other. And of course the movie ends like the episode ends like Sleepless in Seattle, where they just go like, oh, this is just a ripoff of Sleepless in Seattle, which was itself a ripoff of An Affair to Remember, and they're just like, which wasn't that good of a movie to begin with, and they reconcile, and there's just this really great musical instrumental version of the song that they sing here. I got a little bit of it here.
Oh, this is just a rip-off of Sleepless in Seattle. Which was in itself a rip-off of An Affair to Remember. Which wasn't that good of a movie to start with. Hey, I guess we do make a good team. Come here, you big lug.
I love that music so much. I love this episode overall. Okay, you need to be quiet right now, but I mean, I'm getting ready to do like a Siskel and Ebert documentary, unauthorized documentary coming up later in the year, and I'm getting ready to I've been watching some old stuff like that, and then go back to watching that episode. That episode still holds up after all these years. That's my favorite episode of The Critic, and it's really one of the Critic really was one of my favorite shows of all time, man. But that's just one of those great shows that I really wish would get a revival, and supposedly they're trying to do that now, and the hope is that they can get the word of mouth out there, which they really should, because it's just one of those things where there's just so much they could do with that show if they brought it back for a new generation. But it sucks to see that a legendary composer is no longer with us anymore. Rest in peace, Alf Clausen. You really led the music into a lot of people's put a lot of the music into a lot of people's lives with the work you did, and you will definitely be missed overall. So with all that said, let's go ahead and wrap the show up here. We got some recommendations coming up here, and we'll do that after this. Oh, what perfect timing! As I'm recording this, they're showing the end of the Bart of Darkness episode of The Simpsons on FXX, and it ends with another great composition from Alf Clausen.
The summer wind came blowing in from across the sea.
Can't give you the whole thing because of copyright reasons, but I'm just realizing that season had a lot of really good compositions. Round Springfield is one that I always remember too. The great compositions in that song, in that episode from Bleeding Gums Murphy, and the way that ends, just lots of good stuff there, man. It's gonna suck without him being here anymore, which it already does. But anyway, time for recommendations. And again, it's one of those weekends where there isn't a lot of big new releases in terms of like new theatrical releases finally coming out on Blu-ray. But it's mostly just catalog titles. But there are some good ones. Like I see here, Leaving Las Vegas is getting a new release through who's putting out MGM stuff now? Through Sandpiper Pictures. But on Amazon right now, it's $16, so you can get that there. You can also get Malice, which is a pretty decent movie. Great Balls of Fire. Monkey Shines is getting a new Shout Factory 4K. The big one is Brazil, the new Criterion 4K for that. One of the great Terry Gilliam movies. But other than that, though, yeah, it's slim pickings this weekend for new releases. Actually, is this... Okay, it is this week. There's like 2 different dates for this week, June 3rd and June 6th, but June 3rd is this coming Tuesday. So, again, not a big new week for like new releases on Blu-ray, but they're new catalog titles, older titles coming out. And even next week is not really looking too promising. In fact, it's not looking too promising for any big new releases on Blu-ray until well at the end of the month. Like, I think on June 24th, that's when you get the more notable releases. Like it's all coming out on one big weekend. Like, you've got the Minecraft movie, The Monkey, Novocaine, Snow White. All that's coming out on June 24th. So much so that Sinners, I think, was supposed to come out that weekend, but then Warner Brothers saw all the stuff that was coming out. Just like, oh shit, we gotta push this back a little bit. So Sinners isn't coming out on Blu-ray until next month, July 8th. But yeah, so that's basically all the stuff that's coming out this week. Nothing too incredible in terms of new releases, but if you're looking for some catalog titles at some good prices, there's definitely some stuff out there. But with all that said, though, that's going to wrap this episode of the Reviewing Network Live up. I almost said time about the movies. I already did that earlier today, but that's going to wrap this episode of the Reviewing Network Live up. And thank you guys so much for watching and enjoying this. And I hope you did enjoy this. If you did, please go ahead and hit that like button below. Check out the subscribe and notification buttons, as well as check out the previous episode, as well as our playlist, too. Now, next week is going to be something interesting, because next week on Monday, next Monday, we're going out to the U.S. Open on Oakmont, Pennsylvania, which is not too far away from here. It's about like a half hour away, but it's very rare you get to see a big event like the U.S. Open coming to town. So we got tickets for that. We're gonna go to that on Monday. So I'm saying this because I don't know what's gonna happen with the show. I don't know if we're gonna be doing something where I might have to do it early in the day, because I think we got to be there by about 7 a.m. So yeah, it's probably something where I'm either gonna have to do a show early in the day on Sunday, or maybe I'll just do a full video episode of me at the U.S. Open for the channel. So I haven't decided on what I'm going to do just yet. I'm playing it by ear at this point, but I know that next week I'm going out to the U.S. Open, so there will definitely be a video out here, whether it's on here or over on the main channel. So that's just something to keep in mind for next week. So if there's a new episode that comes out early next week, don't be surprised by that. But with all that said, though, thank you guys for watching this, and I hope you did enjoy it. And I'll see you guys next week, whether it's Sunday or Monday. I will definitely be back next week on this show. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, as always, we are out.